Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, I'm so glad the lighting works. Oh my goodness. I also, I think, yeah, just click with my head. Sorry. I didn't upload previous streams to the channel. I don't think. No, I don't think I did. Too much stuff is happening. That's kind of I gotta figure out a method in which I can do that, but I'm also painfully aware that I keep falling short. But it's also like there's just too much going on right now, which probably is my own fault for putting so much stuff happening and not organizing things appropriately. Although, you ever get to a place in life where you're even organizing things don't seem like it's just gonna be like, oh, now it's fit, now you can manage it. It's like, nah, you're managing 15 things, and you're ever managing 15 things that are all kind of complex to do, little much. And some people do it, and I think it's possible, but we just gotta make sure we chip away at it. Also, two things: boiling alive, roasting. Second thing, there's a party going above me, so you might hear kids rickety rackling, all these crazy things, clickety clacking upstairs. Forgive me. They're lovely, they're good people. They're having a good time. It's my brother's birthday. Yes, which is also why the stream might be a touch fast this day. We may not have a longer stream this sitting. But yes, but also it sucks because there's so much awesome stuff to talk about. One of the things, well, first of all, before we get into like the main big poobah, because I want to wait for some people maybe to pop in. But before we get into it, one of the things that I wanted to talk to you guys about is I don't know how to feel about it. I covered a game called Saints Row, the reboot, because I've been wishing for that game for such a long time. If I put myself in a couple years back, it was one of the games I was most wanting to see from E3. I wanted to see what the next Volition game, even in the same realm of like an open world Volition game that wasn't necessarily Mayhem or Levels of Mayhem, whatever it's called. I wanted to see what they would do next. And then I covered the hell out of their game, which was going to be a reboot of the franchise. And again, I've not played Saints Row. I'm actually getting mixed signals. I'm getting people saying that, like, no, it's always Saints Row. It's still like the game that came out. It's still classic Saints Row, which is incredibly fun, very addictive, playful, and is not trying to be this super serious, crazy, rival to GTA in all cases. Also, I didn't zoom in on this and hit play. It might be. But yeah. But Saints Row came out for me, and I've yet to try and jump back into it. And I covered the game for a long time leading up to it. And the reason why I have not, we're going to talk about all Gamescom things. I have not had I've been so busy, I actually haven't even got to grind through all the trailers, which I'm sure is not even a grind, probably just heaven. But nevertheless, in Saints Row, I found myself kind of in this weird place because I want to cover the game, but I don't think, well, first of all, I can't. I'm literally unable to. I had a game-breaking bug that immediately got me knocked off. And now people could argue, well, GRINN, you could just replay up to that point of Saints Row and be cooking. But then there's this issue. And the issue is that I'm doing this course, which I've been saying for months. This has been my excuse for damn near everything. Also, god damn, that's gory. This has been my excuse that's permeated within all of our streams, basically. And again, I always appreciate you guys humoring me on talking about all this. But one of the things that the course says, which makes sense, is when you cover so many different variety things, YouTube finds a harder time placing you. It's not that it can't, it's just that it's incredibly difficult for it to do so. It's almost like you're providing a type of content, and the more specific you stay, the easier YouTube can constantly be like, okay, well, you were going to constantly keep delivering this type of content. We know this type of viewer likes this type of content, and then we are going to push that to this type of viewer. Which is good. Very good. But, big but, it gets complicated when you have multiple different types of content on your channel. I do think it's possible to jump to another game. I do think that's possible, but I think you need to gain momentum proficiently in one game and then jump to another. So in my head, Tower Fantasy has crossover between genre and type, and if I'm and also Saints Row will inevitably dry up as a game. And I kind of want to have a game that I can cover and keep building a community, and a game that can have a community around, because that's what I deeply crave when it comes to my finish line. I want a community in which I can constantly be around and amplify and have fun times and be like the best hostess I can, like a woman, like a hostess woman who's like, yeah, just trying to make sure everyone has a good time. That's what I kind of want to aim for our community to be. But we also need a focal point to do that. And to me, Tower Fantasy very much syncs up with that. Also, I kind of want to talk to you guys about this later, but holy shit, I just seen a video of people shitting on Tower Fantasy, and of course they are also playing, what do you call it? They are also playing Genshin right now, and they're like shitting on Tower Fantasy, and I'm like, I fucking swear to God, you rat cunt people, as soon as Saints, or as soon as Genshin dries up, if you just jump ship to Tower Fantasy, you're trash. You can't shit on something and then be like, okay, but like maybe now I need you, and then jump. It just makes me mad. It just makes me mad. Anyways, putting that behind us. Yeah, I want to cover Saints Row. But I'm also, again, I kind of was in this place of like, I know it's not a clever tactical thing to do, but maybe I could still do it. And I think it's probably time when I stopped doing that. Because I've been doing that for my whole YouTube kind of career / just time on it, where I've always just been like, yeah, but what if we can just have fun with this? And it's like, well, no, sometimes there's rules to a game that kind of make sense and kind of keep you healthily placed in a position, I guess. Also, what's good, that guy? That guy says, hey, what's good, that guy? Hopefully you're taking care of yourself. How are you? What game are you most excited for, by the by, when it comes to Gamescom? Because there is so many cool games coming. Dude, thank God. I was about to say, last E3, or game showcase, what was it, like Game Awards type thing, whatever it was, it was cool, but just left a lot to be desired. Whereas I feel like Gamescom came out swinging this year. I feel like it beat in a lot of ways the previous game conference. Like in terms of like, here are new IPs, because I don't know, as much as I get excited for sequels, that guy, I'm excited for sequels. There's something so fresh and so clear about like, here's a new IP, here's a new swing at a franchise. Well, here we go. Nah. But I also, regarding Saints Row and me not covering, I still want to talk to you guys about it. I still think I'll play it on my time. But yeah, it's just one of those things where like, I want to play it. I see people having fun in it. And again, this is to me in a way where like, oh, my past self knew this problem was going to happen. Because at the time when I was kind of like figuring out what I was going to do in terms of like how I was going to make content, what would be a clever way to do it, I read a book called Disrupt You, which is all about like innovations, like destroying marketplaces, like how the internet destroyed music industries because people could just pirate music, like a disruptive technology that just fucking annihilates everything. And then it's kind of like the hilarious nonsense of it all, of like, no one is secure in the world. Like tomorrow your industry could just get devoured, with a few exceptions. Even then, that's the whole point, is that your industry could be circumnavigated by technology instantly. Anyways, but one of the, also, this is the game that people were shitting on, but it's a shame. But anyways, it's good that it's still going on, but I digress. But yes, that guy says, I don't keep up with the Gamescom much, but I've been, you've been good. That's good. There's some takeaways I think are cool. Dead Island 2, or Dead Island sequel, I should say. I think it's 3 actually, or something like that. But it looks like it's more of a fun, goofy game, whereas like Dying Light's more of like the serious with like playful mechanics, but still serious tone. Whereas Dead Island, Dead Island is going to be more of like a goofy fun. You're like a rock star in a post-apocalyptic. There's 6 playable characters, stuff like that. We'll see more here. That's just cool in the background. If anything catches your eye, let me hear about it, because I might not know enough about it. You might intrigue me to look into it. But I've loved Saints Row for you. Dude, me too. I love Saints Row to bits, which is why to me, like, I've said this, but even when Saints Row is kind of bad, like even when, like, to me, I'm unfortunately in the one, I've never been in this instance, that guy, I encountered a game-breaking bug where like I couldn't progress through the story. Now I could keep doing side quests and like wait for a patch or replay the whole game and hope for the best. But right now I was in a place where I was like, oh, I could make, I kind of, it's a bad idea for me to make content of Saints Row when I have such I want to make content of Tower Fantasy. I know they'll conflict because they don't have the same audience, so it'll be harder for YouTube to place me. It's kind of like an old adage, but you can't be a variety channel anymore because the way the systems work and the way everyone is producing content, you need to get really proficient at making one type of content so that you can become proficient in it, and have like a bank vault of knowledge for the system to acknowledge to then push to those same users. Complicated weirdness. Sorry, I don't mean to get too much in the weeds, but anyways. But I was kind of like, I was at odds with that guy. I was like, could I play Saints Row still? And I was like, maybe I could. Like, I have the same thing with Cult of the Lamb right now, where I think I still want to do 3 videos on Cult of the Lamb and just see what happens, see if it takes off, and if not, probably you'll require more investment. But I think that's all I'll give for Cult of the Lamb. I was like, oh god, what am I gonna do with this? Because I still want to play those games. And then I thought, oh wait, I've thought of this in the past, because I read this book called Disrupt You, which is all about like innovations and such. But one of the things that it tells you is the only way to have like a good idea, like a really good idea, like a very good idea that can work, is to try to kill your idea, is to try to find all the ways it can fail, and like basically go down pathways constantly and kind of like try to piece together all the ways that it could reach a road bump, and then try to find ways to solve those road bumps, and then also try to find ways to be optimized when going through a path. So there's always going to be roadkill, there's always going to be bumps in the road. Which one has the least, and which ones are the easiest to solve for? That's kind of the idea. And I did that when I was making these 3 channels. With like Brothers GRINN, and what is it called? Sherry GRINN. And yeah, with the Saints Row game, we can just play that on the streaming channel, so I could still have my cake and eat it too. So I thought of this, and then I always forget like my plan, and then I'm like, oh right, at least I remember partially. Also, dude, this game to me, I'm so excited for. This one right here is called, oh my god, something no life or something, no bounds, no life. I don't know what it's called. It looks so fun. Yeah, it's made by the same people who made Rick and Morty, which is, you know, whatever. But the thing that's crazy good about it is it's playing off of this adage that I've always loved within video games, which is basically like a companion voice actor, essentially. So the gun itself is a character. All in your knife, every weapon you get is a goofy, fun character. Hence the whole Rick and Morty meta, or like thousands of weirdos yelling at you, making jokes at everything, and kind of playing to that. But just the idea that as you're mowing down people, this like very cleverly scripted person is like making you laugh and saying goofy things, and like, yeah, all of the weird mechanics of the gun, upgrading it maybe or whatever, could have these implications of him being like, thank you so much, or like, that's the best, or like in the trailer that they showed for that game, they have this thing where it's like a knife, and the knife is just loves stabbing people. So it's like, please stab somebody, please stab someone, oh please, I need this so bad, to stab them, cut them fucking in half. It's just like this brutal thing. Of course, it's pretty adult as well. Also, that looks terrifying. Hell no. Also, I seen some weird thing where there was like a PvP / cooperative version of Outlast, which I don't know. I mean, I guess, what is it called? Insomnia or whatever it's called. I don't know what it's called, but it's like that. It's like the game that every Twitch person plays. Very clunky, but it's like, it's spooky enough to where Twitch streamers play it. It's like a cooperative horror game. I guess it can work. I'd just be curious to see how it works. You wouldn't think, at least I wouldn't. I feel like the nature of having somebody with you would, like your friend like making jokes in the dark would like kill the like tone of like dun 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 dun. You know, I feel like it would be like, and then you hear like, you suck, like from your homeboy. It's just like, what? Yeah, take me out of it a little bit. That guy says, it reminds me of Borderlands a bit. Yeah, man, like, yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. That guy, I think Saints Row and Borderlands are both in a category of, even when it's bad, it's kind of good. Like pizza, even when it's bad, it's kind of good. Like, to me, it's really hard to kind of mess up. Like in Borderlands, the gameplay loop and the combat is just, maybe it's pure nostalgia for both of us, but I love them both. Same thing with like the conquest idea of like going around this map, buying this property, and man, I always say it, but I don't know why more games don't do that. And yeah, even just the system of like capital, like the fact that you have your cash app in all the Saints Row games, and you can just like go, like it's I always love this mechanic, because it's like short-term gain versus long-term gain, and like short-term suffering, I guess, is what the other one also has. Basically, you just grind side missions, and then it would give a reason to do it. Like, dude, imagine if Assassin's Creed or Ubisoft implemented any of those kinds of things, of like a conquest of like even Outpost producing a money pit basically, and then them having like actual costly benefit thing, whether that's like character armor that looks fucking insane, because they already had that in Far Cry 5 or whatever. Yeah, like what are you having like a little housing place that you could upgrade so that there needs to be like a reason for wealth. That's what I'm meaning. So like the like going around and buying the store and like gaining capital and like growing your kind of like, I guess in Far Cry would be like resistance, is good if you have things to buy. If you don't have things to buy, then it's kind of pointless. It's a nightmare, you know. But if you can't have games to buy, then we're good to go. That guy says a DC game ? Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure yet. I didn't see that. I probably just passed by. God damn it. Also, what's good, Lone Syndicate? How are you? Lone Syndicate says, what's up? I shall return. Lone Syndicate always pops in and is like, I'm on my way, and it takes him an hour to get here. But we always appreciate it. Also, I think maybe he uses some of his cellular data to pop in, but he can't necessarily type and whatnot because, you know, traversal, you know, in bus, out bus, maybe walking a great distance, whole bunch of things. But yes. Gotham. Oh yeah, Gotham Knights looks really good, man. Man, I don't know. Gotham Knights looks really cool if you like co-op games. But I haven't heard many people talk about the Suicide Squad game, man. To me, Suicide Squad game looks so. I don't know. Just the fact that it's like I loved Arkham City, but I'm not a Batman fan really. Like I like Batman, but it's just like one of those things where it's like I wonder what would happen if you guys just could make like your own universe of like, maybe it's set in like the universe of like The Boys or like Misfit Heroes or something. Because I feel like as much as I do know the power of playing to an IP, I also love it when like, for instance, for a long time now we've been having Marvel movie. Before then we had the Spider-Man movies, etc. And those are, you know, arguably all of those are very interesting and very fun. But when we eventually get to the point where we kind of have been there, done that, it's always interesting to see another thing come out that kind of reinvents the idea from a different perspective, and they do it well, like i.e. The Boys. The Boys is fucking amazing, very fun series, and to me I would love to see them, like the people who made Arkham City, make their own version of a superhero game. But regardless, even still seeing like the fact that there's 4 playable characters and to see if they're like their skill trees are going to be varied. Again, I'm going with the weird, the hobo-looking guy because yeah, Deadshot looks cool, but I like the hobo-looking guy. He seems like a comical Deadpool type, and I'm into it. Also, I made some iced coffee. I'm not sure if it's gonna be good. You know what? It's a game that I think would get people just absolutely juiced, but I don't know if it would sell well. It's like right in that weird happy medium of like, maybe the game has aged out of who it was made for. If you guys seen in one of these press conferences, a Brutal Legends 2, you guys remember that game with like Jack Black, where he just fucking, you play this guitar. It's also kind of a similar idea as that, except it's contained. It's like the idea of like building your empire, building your army, and then like rocking out and then like going to fight like a war in a mosh pit kind of thing. Man, there's so many game ideas that I wish people would capitalize on, but maybe it's just that you can't. Like that was something I heard recently this week, which is, I'm curious what you guys think about it. But it was basically every single time somebody tries to make something quote unquote unique or good, it doesn't have enough of a return audience to validate what it takes to make something unique or good. So there could be a movie that's like really interesting, maybe like a drama, very good. Like if people were to only watch it, they would have loved it. But because it doesn't have any flash, glitz, or glamour, or it doesn't play to anything that people are currently excited and interested in, they will basically not give it a chance, and that content will not make its money back, and therefore we're kind of in this weird state of like only things that people have a built-in investment in already kind of liking, i.e. the zombie genre, i.e. military genre, i.e. maybe like somewhat adjacently horror genre, because probably the one that gets the most wiggle room, because it's just trying to go for a scare. But yeah, like this idea that like new, incredibly unique ideas maybe possibly can't exist all the time anymore, because there is so many because there's such a cost benefit right now. Also, I think a part of it is that there's just so much content right now, it's insane. Like there's so much content, you can pick whatever you like in the exact flavor that you like it really, and it can get pretty nutty pretty fast, you know? But in regards to the Gotham Knights question I asked that guy, yeah, Gotham Knights is just Gotham Knights just showed up. A Suicide Squad game had an interesting plot. The Suicide Squad game just the game had an interesting plot. Yeah, I haven't seen the plot trailer yet, or is there something like that that's out yet? What's good, Sting? Always love to see you, Sting. How are you? That guy says Captain Boomerang. I'm Harley Quinn. Yeah, you can go Harley Quinn. Yeah, that's also gonna be fun. I wonder how they're gonna handle everything, man. They could either like it's always a worrisome thing when you're like, you go from a game where you have one person with a bunch of abilities or 6 people with hopefully the same amount or bare minimum, least like the minimal amount of abilities as well. If not, then also, what is this? Is this Diablo or something? Looking fucking brutal. Jesus Christ. I hate it. I hate those tiny little tendrils. Big yuck. Lord of the Fallen. Okay. Add to wish list now. Okay. I hate the little tendril wispy things. But yes. Oh, sorry, but I was gonna say, how do you think? What do you think? Because everyone's gonna have their like special ability to like traverse, just like as in in Arkham City, you could like use Batman to like fire a little grapple hook to like pull you up a mountain or pull you up a thing. I wonder what everyone's is gonna be. Well, there's one person who's like a person who's just a juggernaut, right? So he probably can just climb up the whole fucking hill or climb up the whole building. But it'll be interesting to see what Harley Quinn's is, how she traverses, what kind of class and grace she got. That guy says that just that they have to defeat the Justice League. Right. Oh yeah, I completely forgot about that. Yeah, it's not even just like, hey, Suicide Squad get killed. No, it's like no. Their mission is literally to kill Superman. And yeah, I forgot about that. That's such a. You're right. That game has wanted like such an underdark mode. Has not been talked over for such a long time. That's gonna be so cool. Also, man. Oh, how do you guys feel about this? Because this is the Tales from the Borderlands game, and I feel like this game probably doesn't deserve my frustration with the series, but I can't help but like still kind of have it for that, you know. But also, I wonder why. Well, maybe that's why. Maybe it's because in Borderlands 3, Borderlands 3's development, I don't think they had acquisition of Telltale yet, or whomever. I think whomever is under that umbrella, I don't think they had Telltale yet. I think now they might. But yeah, the question always baffled me, where a lot of people were not happy with Borderlands 3's story, and I thought, well, you had Tales from the Borderlands that like kind of signed, sealed, and delivered it, and showed you how to like make interesting characters and do all these things, but yet they didn't really do that. So I was like, what happened? But maybe it's because they didn't have access to them yet, and hopefully they maybe do now. So if there is a sequel to Borderlands 4, maybe it's really gonna resonate. Because I know a lot of people who love the Tales from the Telltale games. I don't know why, man. I couldn't get into them. I can't get into like I don't know what it is. I think it's because it's such a long process to invest yourself in and like going through the paces, but also I just feel like I want to take a step back usually. Like I don't know how to describe it. Yeah, it's weird. I just can't get into them basically. I like to have input. That's the best way. I like to have input when I'm playing my video game. I don't like to like sit there and be like hit a button and then be like, what's gonna happen? And then be like, oh, I have to hit a quick time event. Click. Okay. You know, or like, also, I'm a person that gets terrified by choice, like a lot of choice that's gonna have fucking deep meaning that doesn't like lead itself to what like is honesty. Like, should you save this kid or save this engineer guy who's gonna be endlessly valuable to you? And you're like, what? I get this kid, I guess, but what the fuck is that? And then you're like, oh, it turns out that guy would have, the kid would have survived. And if the guy would have lived, idiot. I'm just like, what? What does this mean? You monster. I hate the whole like those games for that bullshit. Like if it was like an honest choice of like, hey, are you gonna get the medic because there's a person wounded, or maybe like you made a bad choice and there's like a choice to be like, do you want the medic or do you want the engineer? I fucked up a click action ability choice, whatever it's called, a quick time event. I want the medic. I made a mistake. Boom, let's fix that. Bop. And we'll figure out the engineer one because we have more people still. Otherwise, you would have died. Like, that's choice that, like, you can rationally make sense of, instead of being like, I made a choice that I could have never understood, had a shit ton of, like, reverb, and I'm just kind of like, whoa, what the fuck? I feel, like, disabled by the world almost. Like, I just don't like it. That's very much, that's very much The Boys. The idea of like just like you're trying to kill the one thing, man. Oh, okay. So I was kind of debating on making a video about this, like talking about how fucking awesome The Boys was, but at the same time as like season 3 being really awesome. Not gonna spoil too much here. Season 2 was fantastic. I liked it a lot, but I do crave for there to be, like, I don't know what it is, man. I recently heard somebody on a podcast, which was interesting, but basically, also no spoilers really for Stranger Things, but they talked about in the newest season, there's not gonna be really spoilers here. In the newest season, there's many instances where a character circumnavigates what you think they might do. And that to me is really, really clever. So in Stranger Things, again, it's just like 2 characters that are like side characters, I think, and they're not that relevant. But yes. Anyways, in Stranger Things, there's an instance where this guy, he basically, like they're doing a D&D session, and he basically just lights up his people who ask him if they can change times. Or like this person can't show up, so we can't do the role play, all that. So it's like this nerdy guy, and he just fucking lights these people, like his other like D&D friends up, and just starts screaming at them. What's good, Mango? What's good, man? Hope you're having a lovely day, or Gab, or Gabe. But anyways, in Stranger Things is a storytelling development thing, but as they're talking about, as this dude's like lighting up his like D&D friends for like asking to do this, just kind of being like a tyrant, like a superpowered person or whatever, egotistical person. Sorry about this. They have another moment, like a couple scenes later, where that same guy who is shown to be kind of like rude and like full of himself and like, you know, on a power trip in this weird friend group that he's in. He shows himself to be not a douche. He talks to this girl and he like makes a fool of himself. He like rolls around. He's super playful, and it's this cool moment of like, oh, I thought you were this. I thought you were like this guy who's like a maniacal, super serious doucher. But in reality, you're like, people are multi-layered. So they show you an instance of a character, and then they break your expectation of what you think's going to happen, because we've seen so much media at this point that like as soon as someone's into a trope, like you just know what they're going to do because everyone follows the trope. And if anything, they maybe grow slightly. But we're in this weird renaissance where I don't think characters actually grow anymore. This is my criticism with The Boys. I'll come back to that in a minute. But another instance which kind of articulates it more is there's an instance where in these 2 characters are angry with each other, or no, this character is getting bullied, and there's one instance where like the teacher basically asks like what's going on. And then this girl who's bullying this other girl is going on about like how, like just like nothing that's on the nose bullying, but enough to like constantly be pecking away at this person. And then when she looks away, she just lights him up, like constantly tells him she's shit, all that stuff. And then eventually, a couple scenes after, you're expecting the teacher to basically like because that's what she did, by the way. She accepted that, like, you're bullying this person. I don't see it. Classic teacher not noticing, bullying happening. But then a couple scenes later, you're expecting her to do the same thing. But wait, she actually finds that the kid's bullying this person, and she does something about it. She like gets really upset. Like, you don't treat this people that way. And it's like, it was such a refreshing moment and such a good idea in storytelling where like you give someone an expectation in which they're going to see a character. That's what's called High on Life. That's what that game's called. Sorry. You give someone an expectation of this character because we've seen so many tropes. We've seen so many stories. There's the teacher that doesn't do anything. There's the dude who's a tyrant. Wait, the teacher did do something. They are multi-layered. They are not perfect, but they have the capacity to do good. Oh, that guy actually is a goofball and he's not very mean. He's just maybe mean in a specific way because this is what he's super serious about. Maybe this teacher just had a moment of ignorance, and that's what we saw. So as a viewer, you're kind of put in this place of like, okay, these are like living, breathing characters, which are growing and changing. And my first initial impression on them very quickly was circumnavigated, where now you're on edge, almost like, okay, these characters have more depth, and which is great, because with that greater depth, you can actually perceive what they'll do going forward easier. Not harder. It's not like they're just chaos incarnate. It's like, no, I understand like where those things are coming from, and I can predict where you're going to go next, which is even more rewarding. Anyways, the reason why I talked about this in regards to the boys, sorry for it to take so long to come around, but in regards to the boys, one of the things that I'm constantly frustrated with, seeing show after show do the same thing. Thank you. Thank you, Sparks. One of the things I'm constantly frustrated with, something that I've seen in the boys, was the characters don't seem to grow. Or they don't seem to be improving. They basically constantly stay in this, like, you're a specific kind of bad, and yeah, it's hard to describe, but like no person in the boys to me has like genuinely grown, and if they have, it's specifically been like, oh, they've grown and then they've receded back into what they were, only for them to have to climb up the same hill that we've seen them climb up and slowly chip away at it. Like the boys does so many things that are so well, like the goofiness, the funniness, but then I hate this yo-yoing of characters not growing, staying the same. Oh, it's been 4 months and the character has basically rebounded to where they were in the beginning of the series. It's like, make them take steps forward. I'd rather see a character grow than recede. I know it's easier for them to recede because they can just stay within their trope. But yeah, so that's my one frustration with the boys, is I didn't really feel like many people grew. Like Butcher just went right back to the same part where he was. Huey largely had to learn the whole lessons of the previous 2 seasons in season 3 all over again with a different twist. Also, I feel like they burned, I don't know, to me, I always thought it'd be such a good storytelling metric if Huey was the one who actually got powers, but the fact that they made Huey like hunger for power, to me was kind of like, you out of all these people know how shitty superheroes can be. Like, they just obliterated your girlfriend. So like the idea that he's like, no, I need more power because I'm tired of feeling weak. And it's like, what changed? Like, you were always, to me, that's the one issue I have with the boys, is like the characters don't do those things. You know, I just explained how like you can logic your way through like, oh, these characters are multi-layered. It's like, no, you're just a person making the same mistake you've always made. And yeah, also I want to see them turn, like, this is my hope for the boys, which I don't think we're gonna get. I think it's gonna have one more season. I think it's slotted to have one more season of the boys, and I think they're gonna finally kill Homelander or whatever. But to me, I wanted the boys to eventually turn into like basically a Suicide Squad to some extent, or like what it was I thought supposed to be, which was, here are a bunch of Joe Schmo, like normal people with different proclivities, but together with this weird specific interest and like talent that they all kind of wield together. They can tear down gods, they can tear down superheroes, they can find the specific thing that they're weak in and all like massively amplify each other and do it. And I don't think we're ever going to get that. I don't think we're ever going to get to the point where like, yeah, we're seeing Huey step up and like use his weird brain to figure shit out. We're going to see Frenchie like fucking do all this crazy shit, you know. I'm not sure if we'll see that ever, but I would hope that we get a little bit of that. I kind of think they pepper it in like as if that's not the interesting story to be told here, which maybe it's not as interesting as like as Homelander versus the crew, which is, you know, clearly the overarching plot, the higher level part plot, but yeah. Don't you, if anyone here watches The Boys, thank you for letting me ramble at you if you haven't. Spark says, need to go gets more rocks to throw. Thank you, Sparks. I bruise not easily. So, yes, I wonder why you've constantly been hucking rocks at me, but appreciate it. It's like pocket sand. But thank you. That guy says, I'm thinking of a certain speedster is gonna have a good character arc in next season. I hope so, man. I hope so. It's interesting because, like, to me, there's a part in season 3, no spoilers, but there's like a character that's introduced. They actually make him, like, again, this is a good example. Well, kind of. I guess maybe not. But he was a character that was introduced and actually was like a very good-hearted character. Like, never showed himself to be like a scumbag, which, like, you know, in some proclivity, you know, even Huey, which is supposed to be the canary in the coal mine, turns into kind of a scumbag. Kind of turns into a person that's like willing to do whatever he wants. And I kind of don't like stuff like that. As much as I do appreciate the idea of like no one's perfect, I did like the idea that Huey's only redeeming quality was the fact that he was the one who had some sort of morale, like some sort of compass that kind of kept the darkness away from everybody else and kept them from like getting consumed by their own hatred of superheroes, which I thought was really good. So to see that like that just didn't mean anything was weird. Also, I kind of didn't like how they made Frenchie and the assassin girl, they're like, yeah, but you're just kind of like brother and sister relationship. And I'm like, why? You guys would make such a cute couple. Like, I always dislike when they do that in storytelling, where like very rarely do we ever have like a relationship in any popular media that is like very, very healthy, kind. Like again, Frenchie and the like Wolverine person have like just a very beautiful relationship where they care for each other. They try to like, they pamper each other. They know each other really well. And they're like, yeah, but you're like more like BFFs and like brothers, instead of it being like, no, there's some of the best relationships I see are like that, are people who kind of like, maybe we're not the most hot people on the planet, but we love each other and we care for each other and we're good at like making up for each other's, you know, failures and aspirations. And there's the ways we can make each other be more sexy, attractive, all these kinds of things. But instead it just seems like Huey and the superhero girl, it's kind of like, well, they're kind of hot and they're kind of like into each other, but they're also kind of conflicted all the time. They're like not always on the same page, and it's like, why is this always the relationship? Like, this is actually kind of a toxic relationship. Like, although I know relationships are complicated, I would much rather have the friendship relationship. Instead, they're like, they're friends. They're like brothers and sisters, which I didn't like as much. I hope they aspire to be something, you know. We went lurk mode. That guy, appreciate your time, mate. What's good, Fluff? How are you? We missed you yesterday, buddy. We did get some stuff done though. I was really worried there. The beginning of the stream, I didn't really mention it. Beginning of the last stream on when we were grinding bosses, I was kind of like, I really hope people like come and play with me. So I put it in the title, let's do this together kind of thing, or like let's grind these bosses. And I was kind of like, ooh. If nobody jumps in, which again, the good news is there are so many matchmaking options within Tower Fantasy, so that you're not like a shot of luck, but still, you know, still was one of we got it done though, which was also very fun playing with you guys, like doing Fortress Clash and shit like that. Awesome. Hopefully we can clean up all that tomorrow. I think we'll do a little bit of Cult of the Lamb tomorrow, and then a good bit of what is it called, Tower Fantasy. Fluff says, so my current sleep pattern may work out for the job I've applied for. Ooh, what is it? And the position that thankfully has opened up at a local location. Awesome, Fluff. What is it? Do you mind me asking? It's okay if you don't want to apply, by the way. It's totally okay to be private, but yeah, I'm just curious. What kind of work that be? I'll be Friday night crew. Oh, you'll be the night crew. Okay. Usually 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Okay. Oh, that's pretty late. Guaranteed at least 20 hours work weeks. That's fucking awesome. So I would it would vary from 3 days a week to more days. Oh, I see. Shorter shifts. Oh, okay. That seems awesome. Yeah, sorry about missing stream. I was up for a way longer than I planned on, and was passing out just before the stream. Yeah, it's okay, Fluff. Yeah, especially when you're having the night shift. How is it though? But that sounds incredibly good, man. Yeah, that was one of those things that to me always was like, it made a lot of sense. Like my brother, shouldn't go too much into what he was doing, but basically he had to do night shifts, like night watch essentially. And yeah, that just fucks up your sleep schedule. But also because he was working for the city in this regard, they pay like a lot, and there's a lot of like benefits and shit. Like it's wild. Like it's one of those things where like, man, if you can get a job with the city, whew, also like a job where you are. My brother was in the business of a business that was never not gonna have people basically needing to be watched, essentially, and monitored, essentially. So yeah, it was just one of those moments where I was like, yeah, it's such it makes sense, you know, where like you're always gonna have job security. It's working for like it's a must need thing to get done. Yeah. But yeah, don't ever have to apologize for being not in the stream, Fluff. We miss you, of course, and we love having you, but I always understand when things come up. Like for me right now, I still haven't uploaded, I think, the previous streams to our GRINN channel because I've just had too much weird shit to do, basically. Also, hopefully the Frigg video turned it somewhat okay. I do think I need to go deep into Tower of Fantasy. I think I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, I just did a shit ton of recon and research, which I would love to talk to you guys about, because woof. If there is like an ultimatum that I think gives the most value, but is like absolutely 100% the thing that will break most people, like if the book and the course that I'm doing, also if there's kids, you hear kids screaming, it's because or they're party upstairs, they're having a great time. But yeah, what do you call it? If there was like an ultimative thing where like if someone were to be like, how do I, improve at this at YouTube or streaming potentially, which I'm like, I'm not the person to ask, I haven't done it yet. But my go-to right now would be to talk about this program and give them this program. But there's a couple things. One, I got hyper obsessed with the program, and I think I reread it 8 times, kind of. I've read it probably 12 times because I've listened to it in the audiobook form and every single time I've worked out, and I just keep running it back. And then I keep making notes, and I keep reviewing those notes every morning, and I'm chipping away at it. Then I have to keep doing the action plan. Anyways, but the one thing that I think is the thing that will break the camel's back big time is the recon and research. To do it properly it takes so much time, and if this was, it could not be, maybe recon research is not that important, but if it is, it'll be the thing that I could be like, oh, this is why most people can't do this, because I woke up at 8. I quickly made a thumbnail, description, title, all that stuff, which takes a longer time now that I know what I'm doing, but also it takes a longer time for our Frigga video, for Tower of Fantasy. But then I just started doing recon research. I think I started around like 11 all the way till the very last minute of this stream, which I think like 5 hours, maybe 6 hours. 6 hours straight of recon and research. You may not know what that means, but it's basically, you're not watching videos to like have a good time. You're like looking at the type of video that they're doing, the thumbnail and why it's clickable. You're looking at like the audience engagement of comments and what the audience is and what they want and what they are interested in, their demographics. So you're just constantly grinding out data kind of subliminally. It's this recon. You can't really nail it down, but you can kind of get an idea of like, I think these are predominantly men who are interested in this kind of thing. Who seem to be interested in 2 ways. One of them is meta things. The other one is, basically community interest. Like there's a bunch of ways you can determine everything. But that thing can kick some ass, man. Woof. It's like one of those moments where like, oof, just, woof. It seems like so much. And I just did recon. That's not even research. Research is even more grueling because you're having to look into specific videos. It's not just like looking at a bunch of popular channels that are doing really well and have momentum and then extracting why. Research is like where you go one step deeper into content and you watch a video through, not as a viewer or not as like an entertainment source, but as a viewing source. So you're basically like picking up on like the editing things that they do to keep people engaged, the subject matter, maybe their performance, the way they commentate and deliver. It's like the thing that like make and break. If this is the thing that makes and breaks skill development, and that I would be like, oh, I kind of get how this can't be for everybody, which I laugh not because I'm like, yeah, but I laugh because I like, it's one of those things where it's like, it's not a, like some people are like, some people have it and some people don't, and I'm like, fuck that guy, who gives a fuck with that guy's piece of shit. But if your reply is, no, anyone could do it, but it's gonna burn you a lot. It's gonna be like a lot to handle. It's gonna be a lot. Oh. Let me catch up on chat. Sorry, I went a little tangent. Fluff says, if it all goes well, this job shouldn't conflict with my other evening activities. Nice. Yeah, I was about to say, I was like, okay, we may see less of Fluff. We lose Fluff, we lost Carthage, we lose Fluff. If Lone City can leave, I'm gonna lose it. No, I'm kidding. I'll always manage. I appreciate you guys though for just being here, but I don't want anyone to feel obligated to have to be here. If it's just me talking to myself for 2 hours, it is what it is. All the more motivation to kick my ass and get stuff in gear. Granted, my reply to myself saying that would just be, well, idiot, we're doing Brothers GRINN right now. We're trying to get that on track, and hopefully when we get that on track, we can move over to share GRINN, and then we get that on track, and then we can move over to streams. But I think it should go better. I feel myself understanding like the patterns in which I need to set up to then knock them down, kind of thing. I'll talk to you guys about that in a minute if you give me that grace. Fluff says, freight, as in unloading and breaking down pellets, stocking shelves. Yeah. Oh, I got you. Oh yeah, so you're doing that. Yeah, man. Are you working in like an Amazon type facility, like FedEx type situation? Because yeah, I know that's a big thing. Where like Amazon's overnight delivery, like they ship on weekends. It's like no, bitch, you keep going, no matter what, you know. But even still, again, probably good benefits and things like that. Unfortunately, just after the call about the position opening up, I was carrying some laundry back into my room and smashed my right index finger against the door frame. Hopefully, it's sufficient. It's a surface level thing. It won't hurt and won't hurt too. But yeah, I hope you're okay, man. That's not good. You gotta be real careful with your fingies. Your fingies are like the epicenter of all movement. And yeah, I think it's probably easier to break your arm than your fingers. Also, I'm so excited for this game. I keep saying it, but it's like, so cool looking. High on life, that's what it is. My brother also got a job. Nice. Got a job there working the butcher block. Meat. Okay, so no more. It's more of a store. Gotcha. So you're working overnight at the store. Gotcha. He at least has a prior job experience working at the Amazon warehouse a few years back. But this will be my first job. But I was assuming no prior experience was necessary. Research. Yay! Oh, sorry. Your experience. Yeah. I think it should be fun. Yeah, man. If there's one thing that like it sounds really weird, and I want to know what you guys think about it because I think it can go in two parts. But my brother, who is incredibly successful, he works as like one of the lead engineers in a hospital, like a fucking huge hospital. Anyways, he's incredibly talented and very, very good at his job. Both my brothers are incredible. But what do you call it? One of the things that he talks about, and I think it's hilarious, but it's kind of true. But he's like, no matter whatever came his way, he'd be like, "Yep, no, I can do that. No, absolutely, I can do that." And then he would immediately be like, "I have no like," and they would be like, "You've done this before," and he'd be like, "Yeah, no, yeah." And then he would like hear about it, and he'd be like, "Okay." And then he would go home and like just fucking binge as much information as he could on it, and just like devour all content of it. Because that's the thing, man. I think that's a little rough, but I think we're living in such a world where if you get good at like finding information, like hunting it down, and you're willing to cement it to memory quick, and you know how to learn fast, you know how to find information fast, you know exactly how to solve problems, and just like that's the thing that I think that if I could like change one aspect of schools to see the big boon is one, the fucking monetary bullshittery of colleges, etc. But also the fact that that people can like if there was just a solid block of time, like take away something, maybe it's like language class or like not language, I mean like learning a different language class. In Canada it's mandatory, which I get, but yeah, if they could replace that with just like really clever structured problem solving things of like, okay, you want to learn this, how would you do it? And then you're like, Google this, and then instead of just Google it, you'd be like, no, you would go to these sources, you would go use Google to try to aggregate verified information that can give you that information. Then you would find ways to memorize that information. Here's all the ways and studies that have shown how memory work. Here's all the ways you would implement it and apply it so it actually sticks. That's the kind of thing I don't think school really taught you, is how to become clever, how to actually look into data. Also, golly, kids be screaming right at the stairs. Jeez, plus especially during the summers, let me catch up. I lost it. Plus, I'm all. There we go. I'm already at night. You're already a night owl. So I think this job will suit me just fine. Yeah, man. Yes, but also you gotta be. I've heard a lot of people who are like, I'm night owls, but like the night shift can like fuck your body up bad. I think if you can get by with night shift if you still don't fuck up your brain, basically. So you still need to basically simulate and at time when light should be existing. So if you have like really good bulbs in your room that like light the fuck up out of your room so that like your brain can still like get what its circadian rhythm stayed on this weird fucky path, and you get like blackout curtains, because you still need that cycle of health. But yeah, I'm a little worried in that regard, because I've heard a lot of people who are like, I'm night people, but it's like you still need to keep that rhythm, and that rhythm is given to you by like the consistency of light and things like that, which I'm sure you know and all that stuff. But yeah. Plus, especially during summer, I'd much rather avoid the sun. And that's true. It's also colder at night. It sounds like a great idea. Although, wouldn't you be sleeping in heat then? Oh, granted, you're saying with excess money coming in, you could maybe make a dent in the AC and stuff like that. Although it's not really you, it's the fucking landlord, right? You told me about that. Yeah. Spark says, just out of curiosity, why did I start streaming? Ooh, Sparks. Why I started streaming is because, well, one, honestly, the predominant reason was I wanted to kind of get better at performing, was one of them. The second reason, man, was I always, this is probably the main reason, honestly. The other one was kind of just like, yeah, it can kind of be helpful, and it kind of helped when you were like, I have anxiety doing this. And I was like, well, I'm improving, maybe. And that was helpful. But to me, I really like the idea of being able to like the one thing I couldn't get from YouTube videos and making content was basically a community. Like you can do that, sorry, but it's not nearly as cool as like genuine connections with people and like talking to people. Like I know Fluff quite well. I can list off 1,000 things what's going on with Fluff right now. Or who Fluff is, what he's been through, and things that I've learned about through the years. They could all be lies, but I still memorize them. And the character and the person that I have in my head is still a person to me, a person who I've grown to care for a lot and think is wonderful. Same thing with you, Sparks. I've learned a lot about you too. I've learned a lot about Red, Bolty, Lone Syndicate, everybody. So to me, it's that like fostering of connection and community that I really like. And that's what I take from streaming. Although I do need to get better at everything else when it comes to streaming. I need to get better at like being a hostess. Like instead of just being a person who enjoys people, I need to be a person who understands people and understand what they want, and then create experiences in which they can be happy with the delivery of what I'm delivering, I guess, with like the food at the table. Like being a good hostess isn't just about being a chipper person and being happy to talk to people. It's about creating an environment in which people want to play in. It's about making good food that tastes good. It's about making sure you create a system in which everyone can kind of be as happy as they can be, given your size and attention and delivery and all these things. But no, the reason why I did is because I couldn't get my community fix necessarily from videos. I could get some comments that were very sweet, but I couldn't like understand you guys and actually And I think that's something that streams really gave me. But yeah, that's part of the reason why I started, is because the one thing I couldn't get from videos was a very unique lens and zoom on community. Fluff says, research and analysts, essentially. Yes, kind of. It's, to me, the way the person broke it down in the course is called recon or research. But it's also, it kind of goes a little bit beyond that weird stuff. I guess maybe it's the same as research and analyst or analyze. Kind of. It's really interesting because, like, to me, I still had the first time I did it, I was like, okay, I'm getting kind of like overwhelmed, and I kind of, when you're doing something, but you're kind of like, I'm going through the process, but I don't know why. I don't know why this is valuable. I don't know what I've done with this. And then I basically remade the research recon system to basically optimize for the problems I think the person was trying to solve for in the way that I understand it. And it's worked significantly better in the way I can rationalize everything. But one of the things that was interesting in regards to doing the research and recon that I did in the whole Tower of Fantasy community, which, by the way, so many wonderful creators out there doing incredible work, was there is a lot. And it's funny because like one of the things that you start doing in the research is basically you try to find commonality within what is currently successful, and it's like, it's hilarious. You see patterns everywhere. Like one of the patterns I see is mistake. Like don't do this. Avoid 10 mistakes. What is another one? Don't do this. Do this. And it's also very clever. Like thumbnail pattern recognition, essentially. That some of it's like basically like it's a circle and an X, or yeah, like a green circle and an X, and it's just like it's a thumbnail image that basically describes information fast. You're like, okay, this person's gonna tell me what I should do and what I shouldn't do, and then you would click. It kind of spikes curiosity within the viewer and kind of does that stuff. So you look for all that stuff. And one of the things that you do is you're basically like finding out what works. You're finding out what everyone does. You're finding the commonality of every channel. You're finding the commonality of what everyone's goals by looking at the channel and looking at its past upload schedule as well as its current, and seeing what it's kind of trying to stand for. Stand for meaning like, what is its general objective? What does it generally try to provide to its audience? And I seen back to back everyone's content and like doing everything like that. I seen everyone basically do like guides, and it's funny because at the start of it I was like, okay, these are what's popping, this is what's really good, but at the same time I'm like, I see like 5 of the big channels do guides and like tips and things like that, mistakes to avoid. But what I don't see, and this is part of the thing, like you probably should do a little bit of both. You should do some content that is clearly people want and are excited about, but you also need to make content that differentiates yourself and also makes you unique and people want as well. So to me, having done all this research, I basically come to the conclusion of like, okay, well, it's a decent idea to do some guides, but it's probably also a decent idea to do something that is unique to what everybody else is doing, because this is like commonality, like over 9,000. Everyone's doing guides. Like the most viewed videos are people doing guides, and also if you look at even like the less tier videos, there's still kind of that. There's still kind of like helpful tips, but I don't see a lot of content in the space that is like fun content. It's funny because like if I look at the span of Genshin, Genshin had a really. I'm sorry, I'm going on to the tangent. I want to catch up on chat, but. In Genshin, there was a lot of channels that came up throughout its wake, guides, free to play, specific niches like Enviosity and stuff like that. There was Tectone, which is like this bigger, larger than life character, kind of a performer at heart, but then kind of like also used kind of topics of the community to kind of make content of. Sure, but then there was also other channels that like came out of nowhere. They were like fucking like dominating. Like at the midway point of a game's life cycle, which was like, okay, this is incredibly useful information and like interesting in terms of like human beings and what they're attracted to and how like communities can happen. But one of the videos that came out in the Genshin space was there was this guy who had like 5K subscribers, 500,000 subscribers, which beat out a lot of like what were considered the top creators at the time. But the person basically just did the story, and he was very chill, very calm, very good personality, but it wasn't like larger than life, wasn't screaming all the time. It was just like a nice vibe of a person who just took you through the Genshin story, and kind of like edited those together and like reacted to those fun, like in a charming way. And it was like a nice soft video, but that person exploded onto the scene. And it's funny because people judged him, like why are people liking him so much? What is he doing so special? Which is of course frustrating and like gross. Like fuck them, those people. But what do you call it? To me, it was one of those moments I see the same kind of pattern potentially available in Tower Fantasy where we're like, okay, well, maybe that same thing could be happening. Everyone's like rushing to make guides and provide value there, which yes, is important and good and all that. But maybe there's an opening to make fun, like content that is just entertaining, funny, and goofy, playful, etc. Not necessarily like, here's the most optimal setup. Here's who you should wish for necessarily. But then there's also maybe an avenue where somebody like tries to deliver the story and amplify it in such a way that makes it more enjoyable. For the people who do like the story in Tower Fantasy. Arguably, you can kind of start to predict some of this stuff because, Genshin's always had a really fun, engaging story, which a niche group of the community has always loved. So if you abide that community, you'll be able to, make them happy more and things like that. But yeah, that was one of the funnier things I found out about the research stuff. Although I'm starting to see more patterns, which is kind of hilarious because you're like, oh, this is a deep human nature thing, which is like text with highlighted colors, faces, the specific color shaping that people do, focal points, and like all of these things which are like just make something clickable in a way. But yeah, anyways, sorry. Thank you for letting me rant about that. I did that literally for 5 hours or 6 hours today, so it's my brain's just like Spark says, I read that. Spark says, I'm not going to lie. That actually sounds rather fun. I've always enjoyed research and development tasks. Yeah, no, it's definitely good. I think doing it for 6 hours straight is where like it's a make or break thing. Like, I think there's all things. If you just chip away at something, it can be kind of like rewarding, and rewarding usually comes if you're able to get a yield out of something. But it can be like doable. But it's the fact that when you like, it takes, if you want to progress quickly and you want to truly like see pattern recognition, you need to look at a lot of examples and you need to kind of go for a longer period of time. Now, again, I also think that I might be in a state of like, I've never really done this stuff really, because you can't watch videos as a viewer. You have to watch them as a researcher. You can't like enjoy the content. You have to watch as if you're a viewer who this person is trying to capture the attention of and what they're doing to do that. It's a lot, but yeah, in some regards, I think as you get better at it, it'll just become, because right now I'm having to kind of like write down information and then extrapolate the data of what that means in regards to my application of it, I guess. Whereas I think you can just eventually take in data and be like, and like it'll come out the other end about being like, okay, I know what this is going to do. I know why this is doing this. This is probably affecting this because I've seen it for like 3 years now by me constantly doing research and development. This is the same pattern and this is why. Or maybe you're like, actually, this is the same pattern, but this is a different perspective on why it's working and what it's twisting in the brain to make a person excited and interested in it. You know? Also, what's good, Red? What's good, Bolty? Fluff says, I'm looking forward to a freight job. Or to your freight job. It'll be tough physical labor, but they understand that people have lives and will do their best with reason. But of all, I won't likely need to fit a dress code or anything, so I can just simply focus on the job, not dealing with customers. Yeah, no, man, it's definitely worth like how do I put it? I do think there's a certain like, I think manual labor jobs are good and are very, very like gratifying if they pay an amount of money that would make them worth doing. I think the issue is that like they always just go just enough undervalued to where like people are kind of like, I can't really like grow from this. Like, but if you could get a decent life, I don't mean like crazy. I mean like if you could have, like, you know, buy a couple goodies every now and again, you know, eat out maybe a little bit, or even if you don't want to eat out, you can maybe like save up for a PC. I think the thing is that most jobs like the Amazon warehouse workers and etc. are usually making under such a minimal bracket with no potential to succeed. Like if you there's no like level up material in like a business, then that baseline manual labor should at least be paid in which you can kind of secure that person's labor, I guess. Whereas a lot of times I think you're like, well, I'm kind of making the bare minimum here. There's not really incentive for me to stay, and they kind of know that, so then they just get in the habit of like creating systems that cycle out people. There's no benefits, there's no acquisition and retention for your employees. It's all just like, people need this, you know, or whatever, right? So I think the whole manual labor thing can be good if they just go a little bit higher in terms of price and paying their workers to where people are like, yeah, actually I can live pretty happily off of this, like, and yeah, you know. But then they're like, there's the CEO that makes $1 billion and is like, but if I just shave off your wealth that much more, I can make millions across everything that's feeding up the ladder to me. And I can justify that because we're basically making more jobs because I can put that into other avenues of profit and all these weird things. But anyways, the corrupting shittery of business. But yeah, Ability says, yo. Fluff says, I'm looking forward to the freight job. Closing happens at 11, so at worst, I may cross paths with the customers during the first hour or so, but that's not likely since the first hour are usually to unloading property. Yeah. Also, I guess to me, it's, I think you're in the right space to basically say like, I'm not the person to talk to. Like that'd be my go-to is like, oh yeah, sir, you're gonna talk. You can go to here to go to this place. The front desk will take care of you. I just stock shelves or whatever. You know, like to me, I would have a plan in my head to be like, I'm not the guy. Get somebody else. You know, for that hour mark. That might be the anxiety talking though. Fluff says, grocery store, Albert Stone's to be okay. Grocery stores are fantastic. Yeah. I feel like grocery stores are a little bit better, frankly, about the whole like. They seem like they're more of a tight-knit community, right? Like, whereas I feel like the whole like I hear a lot of weird things about Amazon being like super like proficient to the extent in which is not healthy for the employees. You know what I mean? Like, where they don't have any understanding of like a person's like wanting to keep decent work on board and content enough to keep working. and etc. Yeah. Bodhi says, we will end the stream with a little TF fantasy. Just the way you said Bodhi. I don't think. Oh, so Bodhi, we will be playing tomorrow. A lot of Tower Fantasy probably. I said we're gonna do an hour of Cult of the Lamb and an hour of Tower Fantasy. We might just go full fucking bore and do an hour or 2 hours of Tower Fantasy. I haven't decided yet. I do want to keep big dents in Cult of the Lamb because I just do want to play the game. But I can't stream more for today because my brother. We actually have it's my brother's birthday today, and I'm actually missing a bit of the party. And I would hate for that to be the tone. I would like to be like, I care. I have enough to show up. I was there for a little bit, but I would like to be there for more, so that's why we can't do that this week. But we will. In the future, we're going to go buck wild in Tower Fantasy. Fluff says, it shouldn't be too difficult. It's not a huge store, and from what I've researched, each crew member gets assigned an aisle or two for a majority of the work, and simply stocks rotates. Yeah, that's gonna be bad. Hopefully not the person who's like getting like the fucking bean cans that are like heavier than shit. That'd be brutal. Although I imagine there's like a cart and stuff like that. But yeah. Spark says, wouldn't be a problem solving class just be mathematics? No, I think definitely not. Absolutely not. No. I was in math class, mathematics, all those kinds of things. Never did it tell me real world application of how you learn. Not even close. I think learning and being a person that can go out and specifically find information and then like be autonomous and learn is an entirely different skill that school is almost fundamentally built on not doing. It's almost like built on no. We have a court. We have a test you need to do. We have this. We need to do. This is how we grade you. It's almost like the most okay, we're gonna give you tools. How do you solve the problem? What do you do to figure it out? And they pull back. And maybe I haven't actually. Maybe mathematics in the U.S. or something is handled a little bit differently. But yes, anyways, most people will never use calculus in everyday life, but learning calculus hardwire your brain to think outside of the box and solutions. Yeah, Sparks. I don't know. I know a lot of engineers who are killing it and are very good at problem solving and are very good at self-education. I also know a lot of people who are like really good at math who are terrible at problem solving. Like if the car broke down, they get fucked. They're just like, and I'm probably in that group a little bit to some extent. I think everyone is who hasn't experienced that, but I think if you were to get to a place in your life where you could just look into data constantly, and like you're in like you have a job, you have everything taken care of, you're on an equilibrium, not good, you're not bad, then I think that'd be where you could like dedicate time to learning those things. But yeah. I'm up overnight most of the time. I less worry about my mental as much as my physical. But it should also mean I won't need to go. I won't need to go to the gym. Why? Why would it mean you not need to go? Because you're doing a little bit of exercise when you're stacking cans. That makes sense. And well, the pandemic changed a lot of expectations. A lot of folks are coasting off unemployment, and businesses are having staff shortages and all over. So it means you have options, but I'd much rather an overnight job if there was something to do at home. Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Yeah. Neat. Dorf Romark is coming into Switch. I really want to pick that one up, along with the Cult of a Lamb and a Power Wash Simulator. Yeah, Power Wash Simulator is sad. Like when you're on the toilet, you're like, I just need to decompress and also deal with something. Probably my top 3 charming, relaxing. I was about to say Power Wash Simulator. I see a lot of people go into it. Yeah, I don't know if I need that though. I tend to be a person who seeks. Like I don't know. I kind of seeking not anxiety, but I don't really like. I guess I do my like breathing meditation in the morning every single day, so I think that just chills me out. Also, I exercise, so I have no like ability to fight back against the world. I'm like, okay, I guess we're doing this now, you know. Spark says, I know research and analysts is very important, but it isn't timing equally as important when covering games. I think whoever has the first clickbait title image would have the largest initial gain. I could be wrong, but that's my opinion. No, I don't think you're entirely wrong. I think there's probably there's a lot of metrics going on, and momentum is huge. But there's like the example that I just gave of a person in the middle of like Genshin's life cycle who just did storytelling, and then he happened to work. Like, you can look at a lot of options of like, oh, why in the middle of this game's life cycle did this channel just rise to the top? And it's usually because there's a group of people who are not getting satisfied. Like, the main thing that YouTube is trying to optimize for is people to stay on site and to have people be satisfied having watched. This is why clickbait doesn't really work. That's also not followed by good content. The reason why is because YouTube will see that people click on the video but then don't watch the rest of it. So then it engages. YouTube is seeing that, like, okay, you're engaging with content, but you're not satisfied by watching it because you're clicking off within the first 30 seconds. This content is not good, or this content is not optimized for our goal, which is user satisfaction. Because if users aren't satisfied, they leave. That goes against our initial goal of keep people on site so advertisers can keep seeing ads, or so advertisers can get their ads seen, etc. So it goes against our conflict of interest. But if you understand a community that is in that realm, and you provide something that does do that captures their attention and then satisfies them, which is basically watch time, or CTR, which is click-through rate, and watch time, which is engagement, essentially. And yeah, if you can do both those, but you're right, and then there's initial momentum bump. But I've also seen so many people who basically capture a ton of value from a concept, from a game, and then they basically just die immediately. And I think this is the absolute, it's one of my biggest fears, one of the biggest reasons why I started reading this book and this course and stuff like that, is because one of the things I knew would keep me up at night would be, did I get lucky? And there's definitely an element of luck to doing creation, but I think, as everything is in life, there's a percentage chance which skill can help you increase that chance. So your knowledge, your understanding, your skill development, your pattern recognition, the more you learn, etc., can take a 10%, or can take a 1% chance, and maybe even just make it a 10% chance. But then you just gotta find out how to flip the coin enough to make itself so you can actually gain the value of that chance. So to me, it's all about that kind of thing. But yeah, no, there's definitely a value proposition for capturing a game's interest as soon as you possibly can. To me, knowing the research and the data that I've seen, YouTube is much better at. So like, this is how it works, Sparks. Like, so you're all right. This is why you're right. YouTube goes a lot off of user data. Like, predominantly, it's one of the main, because it had this issue with click-through rate, so the algorithm had to change and learn more so that it could basically provide more people to be satisfied by providing better content, etc. So what YouTube does, basically, the more users that interact with the content positively, YouTube keeps track of that user, those type of users. So then, with all the user data that views and like decent watch time can gain, in a couple weeks or in a couple days, it will say, okay, this is the kind of person that likes this content. Maybe it's a person that's similar in the Genshin community. Maybe it's a similar person who's already watching Tower of Fantasy tier lists or whatever. And you say, okay, this is similar enough but different that I could give it to these group of people and see what they like. And if they do like it, then that has a momentum gain. And what happens when more people see it? More user data. So then it says, okay, we have a general bigger sample size in which to push this content for. Okay, this content is good with these people. Let's push it over there. A good bit of people like that. Okay, what were those people? Now we have an even bigger sample size. Some didn't like it, but we're focusing on the people who did. Now we're going to push it over to these people, and it's this bulldozing effect. Now, that can be amplified by something called, basically it's a strategic, it's like a library of content. So the more you have that happen, and the more that those videos that are succeeding, they're constantly like basically getting pushed to people. If they are connected to your other content, then that content that's being pushed to everybody, and there's a data relationship between them, whether that's somebody who clicks on the end card to take them to that video, which is why we're like fucking pushing for end cards so hard, or maybe there's like a playlist link that's unique to those type of videos. If YouTube can see the data connection and see that people, like users, maybe use the end clear card, if they can see that most of the users that watch that video also enjoyed that video, then they'll put that in the suggested feed, which makes up for 72% of all YouTube traffic is suggested and recommended. Also browsed, but mainly suggested, which is crazy. So if you have a strong data connection between all of your videos, then they'll lead back to each other. And then what happens with that video, the process starts again, where basically videos can keep amplifying itself by basically finding more user data. So the initial momentum push is basically just giving YouTube a ton of user data to do that with. Now, granted, this is why people say that content is king, which basically means, well, what if you just made a video that to a lot of the mass majority of people was good? YouTube would basically see that, okay, this group of people watched that video to its entirety. Okay, this person got this click, the thumbnail is attractive enough to this viewer that they clicked, and they watched the majority of the video. Awesome. And then they push it to this thing. Now the issue becomes, is what happens when a person watches your video, but doesn't like it? What happens if you made predominantly, let's say, Wonderland content for a couple months, and then you made Tower Fantasy videos? So then people who are already subscribed to that channel, who are interested in Tower, who are interested in Wonderland's content, now see that new video, and they click on it, and they're like, oh, this is not Wonderlands. I'm not really into this. I mean, I like the guy who's doing it, but it's not my type of content, and they click off. So not only did less people click on it when it had impressions, given your subscriber pool, but also they didn't watch it all. So YouTube is basically like, okay, well, this is not for this viewer anymore. So then who's it for? So then YouTube is basically trying to wait until it can aggregate who is watching a general portion of this video. And then it will push it to like the sidebar on occasion, then maybe a couple people click it, which is why it's important to have like a very good thumbnail. So whenever you do aggregate, whenever the algorithm, whenever a viewer interacts with like, even though like 2 viewers, like this is the thing that's hilarious, is if 50 people, let's say, or even 15 people hit the end screen, go to that video, that's abnormal for YouTube. Most people don't even get that. So if some people do that for a really low video that doesn't have any like understanding of an audience, then YouTube sees that and goes, oh, okay, you like that. Okay, then I'll push it to this person. Oh, they like that too. Okay, good. And then the ball starts rolling. This is why usually there's a momentum effect. And this is why some creators fucking fail, is because that one video is great. It answers questions. It's for this specific user. YouTube knows who it's for, but then there's no connecting metadata to where they basically peak, and then they maybe get a few subscribers that are interested in their content, but then because none of their data, none of their videos are connected by playlists, by tags, by suggested content, by in the description, you're linking to that video, and if one user clicks that link in the description to take them to that video, YouTube tracks that and can see that those videos have a data relationship, and then they can suggest those videos in the sidebar, and then momentum can basically take those videos, and it's like a rising tide rises all ships. So you are right, but that's the weird way it's working. But also, so for me right now, I'm trying to think of ways in which I can produce content that gets my videos to my ideal user, so that YouTube can have an idea of who I'm now making content for. I don't want to private all the Tiny Tina's Wonderland videos, but I can see how if views keep coming in from those videos, YouTube's kind of like, who is this channel for? Is it for the FPS people who like loot, or is it for the people who like MMOs and anime? Like, it's kind of like, I'm like, I'm so sorry. I didn't really know. I kind of started too quickly. I should have finished the book before I did this shit. Fucking kill me. Anyway, but good question, Sparks. I had fun answering that one. Fluff says, but yeah, I've got my my application sent in. Oh, I hope you get it, man. I thought you already got it secured, but I hope you get it. We just await a following up call set on an interview time, and then I'll probably start sometime this coming week. I hope so, man. I hope you get it. Sounds like a good deal. Good deal. Spark says, have you ever done analyst on using certain colors in your images to attract viewers? There is a reason that the fast food restaurants use the color red. Don't want to complicate the process. No, I'm already ahead of you. Well, not ahead of you, but I know that's one of the sections of the book is the power of color. It's really interesting actually, because one of the things that it's hilarious because all of this, YouTube is just like a testing case, basically a testing case in pattern recognition. So like if you look at the top 50 videos that got the most views, like millions and millions of views, they have incredible commonality. And it's usually because they're leveraging old data research that people have done for a long time, like red, green. We see emotional interest for things. Emotional things stand out. Colors, like I think it was a study done a long time ago that, like, I don't know how much I mean, I guess it's seems like it's backed by a fuck ton of people, but it basically said that a person said that like 90% of our initial interest is derived from color. So like 90% of whether you're even accepting to a choice is based on color. And it kind of makes sense if you look at like the crazy implications of like how we have survival mechanisms that when we see like putrid green or something with holes in it, it signals in our brain decay and like poison and like plight and plague. So like our body is like detesting that. It doesn't want to do that. In the same way as like anything that's like, drama, hot takes, frustration against an other basically can be amplified because in our human nature, when someone was aggressive to us or when we were in danger, that was the first thing that basically got up to like the priority list. So we are more interested in like negative emotion and any sort of danger, even social danger to us, than anything. That's what we engage with the most, and it so happens that we're in the age of social media, in which that's the whole currency is your attention. So of course that's the thing that's being monopolized. A little rough, but yes. Right now, to me, there are some that I don't really like. I like red as a mistake. Like red can amplify an emotion. Red I need to be careful with though, because I don't like red being. Red is also an aggressive thing. I noticed that. Which is rough because, it's kind of hilarious because like I'm the most non-aggressive person ever, and my background is fucking red. But green's also good. I also think gold is they're just base things. Like it depends for community too. I think that's also relative. Like if we're in the loot sphere, like Wonderlands, the color gold usually means like wealth and like value. Red means aggression and usually stay away. And then other times, like, you basically take a color and then you kind of, like, you can have, like, an initial, like, red is a good example of, like, you notice it. But then you can have such phrasing around it. Like, Coca-Cola is probably the best example of, like, all of the trailers and all of the ads are, like, jovial, happy, people dancing, people like, oh, my God, I have a Coke and I'm great. So it's, like, it's completely against the initial response that usually is governed by the color red. But it's called color theory, I believe is what it's called. Fluff says, this should be a good first job, especially with the recent years having adjusted to minimum wage. And so, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Yeah, again, I think it's one of those jobs that to me, it's not like, it doesn't seem like it would be too... there's some jobs that like the cost of wealth is anxiety and like frustration and like you gotta stay there for like 15 hours or like something crazy. You gotta like give your heart and soul, but you make good money, but you're like giving a chunk of your life to this thing, where this one is like, no. You basically just go through this motion and then you're done. And then you can kind of like call it, it's not that it's not stimulating. It's just not as stimulating as stress can induce. There's some jobs that induce stress and that's kind of the price. And there's some jobs that have a high price, but they don't give you much for that high price, Also, Lone Singer says, I have returned. Good to have you, buddy. We're deep in the weeds with some content questions and such. I love them. Spark says, also, you're looking swole. Swole, so good job in the gym. Talking to me? Me? I'm 200 pounds. I'm getting fat. I'm getting real fat, but I did get an attack bike, and I've been just gunning it. And yes, but thank you. Very sweet. Lone Singing says, how are you? I'm doing pretty good, Lone Singing. How are you? What was the most exciting game of this one right here? Booty says, happy B-Day to you, bro. Thank you. Thank you so much, Booty. I gotta sleep now. So, but yeah, have a good time, Booty. Sleep. Lone Singing says, I've been playing Saints Row, and my God, I knew what I was stepping into, and I'm still speechless. Please let me hear about it. Let me hear about it, please. Dude, I've been so frustrated. I've seen so many people who are like, it's such a fun. I'm seeing like Joe Raptor. There's another guy who I think Fluff is on too, and I like him too. He's kind of like a similar, like they're both Swedish or something weird, but like have a different accent. But they're always like, here's how you get the best weapons, the 3 must-have. They do great content, but yeah. But them motherfuckers be sitting here like seeming like nothing happened. I'm like, did nobody get fucked by bugs? I have a folder full of 15, my friend, and I played for 2 hours maybe. Nah, I played a little longer. I played for probably 8 hours. But I'm just like, is it just me? I feel like it's just me. And then I seen a title the other day that's like, is Saints Row a buggy mess? And I was just like, and then I clicked on the video and it was just like, it was a dude T-posing. And I was like, fuck you. I have a game-breaking bug, you rat. Anyway. Sorry, a little much, but it was, needless to say, painful. But yes, let me hear about Lone Syndicate. Or is it not bugs, and it's just like, I'm not into the story. They're weird. They're not my people, you know? How about you, Sparks, though? Have you ever considered looking into anything content-wise? Because it seems like you got a pretty good brain for it. Even just being interested in this kind of stuff is, I think, half of the battle. Because for such a long time, I refused to be interested in stuff like data and like strategy in any way because I thought it was, I believed in like the art of creation, which to me I only understand now that understanding how the pie is made or understanding how the thing is made is actually quite indicative for you being able to make something quite good. And you can have something truly creative and beautiful, but you also can massively progress quicker by analyzing things and learning from how other experts have done things, you know? At the end of the day, you still have to be unique and stand out, but you sure as hell can admire and learn from others, you know? Which I took a long time to learn, because ego, probably. Probably ego. Try failing for 8 years and see what ego is left. Spark says, sorry, I feel like I'm quitting. No, hit me with it. I love it. The more, Sparks, this is one of the things that like you should never, ever apologize, at least to me, with. Whenever somebody asks me something, especially with like the thing I'm learning right now, either I'll know an answer and I'll be able to say it aloud, which will like that's like how memory works, is the more you say something aloud, the more you write something down, the more it calcifies it within your own logic and your own brain, more neurological pathways develop, and it cements it deeper, and also lets you think through a process so that you can actually make sense of it, you know? Because anyone can like reiterate words like, you know, an answer to a question, but to say, well, this is why the answer makes sense, and this is what the answer is solving for. If the question changes, then this answer wouldn't be optimal anymore, or would fail, because it's not solving for the variables it would encounter with that other problem, you know? It's like, it's just a good ways to learn. So I appreciate the questions actually a lot, especially in regards to this, because sometimes it's very niche avenue of interest. And I say this beforehand, but I always kind of go back and forth whether I'm doing a bad job talking to you guys about it, because I think as a viewer, it's probably the least interesting thing, because you're just wanting to watch something that's good. You just want to watch something, I think, that's fun. You don't want to know necessarily how everything is made, because some people it can take out the wonderfulness of creation. And just like happening to enjoy. Yeah, this is Outlast. This is the Outlast game I was talking about. Well, I'm not sure how it's gonna be. It's a co-op game, but yeah. I'm waiting with bated breath to see what Lone Syndicate says in regards to Saints Row. Or maybe he's loving it. I misread the comment. Again, I think it's still probably going to be an enjoyable experience. I just think I've never had a game release in such a state, you know? Like not a AAA game at least, to where like even Cyberpunk I don't think was that bad in comparison to like one of the core fundamental features of the game, which is customization, to me is just lit up. Now maybe I log in and like I fucking hate, I always got a detoggle auto update, because I hate when it doesn't tell you like, hey, by the way, this game's been updated. On the Epic Store, maybe it has. I don't know if there was the update before or any time between now and launch. It would be cool if you guys could tell me, but yeah. So Lone Syndicate says, I am not loving it. I am actually not having a good time. So I'm so sorry, Lone Syndicate. I feel partially responsible too, man. For such a long time, I was so excited for a game series that I loved to bits, and I still love it. I still think it probably can be good. But yeah, I just feel responsible a lot, because I talk so much about the show or the game, and I was so excited for it. I still think it's probably going to be fun. Like I said, even when Saints Row's bad, I think it's still pretty good, just because no one really does the conquest thing anymore, and I think that's fun. But it definitely is one of those ones where it's like, I think in every regard, this is not a proper sequel or even reboot. You know, even for people who desperately wanted a Saints Row 2 kind of adjacent game that was similar, I feel like they kind of never didn't satisfy anybody. You know, if they would have made the story more gritty, I think people actually would have been very receptive to that game, and it would have been very clear who it was exactly made for. Saints Row reboot we're talking about. But because it's kind of in the middle, it kind of feels like it made nobody happy, and it kind of made like every wrong choice. Like it took a consolation at the gameplay onset of like, okay, no, you have a couple abilities, you have a couple weird guns, but it's mainly like skins. Skins is like the main thing you're doing. Also conquest, but there's not a lot of. But then the story we took from Saints Row 3, 4, and 5. The same goofiness, the same like jovial thing. When it's like, whoa, wait, a lot of people have like a benevolence and a love for Saints Row 2 because of how crazy the story was. Like most people who played Saints Row 2, if I mention the Carlos scene and the fallout of what took place after the Carlos scene, that is like one of the best moments I think in storytelling that I've experienced, especially as a younger person. The vengeful evilness to our character, and at the same time you're like, no, okay. One of the first times when I've experienced a story where you're like, no, okay. Like, yeah, it's sometimes okay to be a monster. Maybe when you're fighting absolute monsters, you know. And it was funny because like even the truck driver guy wasn't like it's funny because out of all of the like bosses, he was by far the least maniacal, the least unreasonable, you know. But it was almost like our characters' kind of not so good actions had a reaper effect that still had a consequence, and that consequence was still enough to be like, no, sorry, even though I know we weren't in the right, you don't get to do that. You know, you don't get to do that. And then just fucking animal. And then ending, there was no like, I know what you were trying. It just murdered. Immediately shoots a guy who's important, basically, in the after credit scene. There was so much to that game, which maybe they know that like if we did do like kind of a darker, gritty thing, we would get criticized like crazy by like news sites saying we're like glorifying, you know, gang violence or whatever. So I don't know, but we'll see. Hopefully, and like maybe by the time I finally get to play the game after I'm done doing recon, research, all this fucking shit that I'm talking about, maybe then it'll be patched up. The new DLCs will come out, and I'll be like fucking loving this game, you know. Although to me, I'm not sure, man. The gunplay to me just does not feel as juicy as the 2, 3, and 4. You know what I mean? It just feels kind of like, I don't know. Feels a little bit like I prefer 2, 3, and 4. Just gunplay, just like aim, shoot, the feeling of a shot, the feeling of shooting someone in the head, and then just going like, and just like them flipping around and shit. Yeah, I also prefer like the tiny little circle above them rather than this fucking meaty health bar and shit. But maybe there'll be mods. They could like adjust things, maybe. That'd be a way to save the game, I think, maybe. If they had like a creation kit that they're like, we fucked up, but here, if you want to fix it, you can. Spark says, I probably thought about it when I was young, in my teens, but not anymore. I work as an engineer and I love problems. Yeah, no, I will also, who's to say that that's not actually a huge aspect of YouTube? Because man, I feel like, because my biggest thing, Sparks, when it comes to, I started to just hijack the conversation, but one of my biggest things with YouTube is I had the thing where like I told you about it, but I read a book called Disrupt You, and it's all about basically how like innovative technology that basically just like completely carpet bombs an existing technology / industry and then just upends it. So one of the best examples is like the internet in regards to the music industry, where like people just downloaded music, the whole infrastructure of the music industry just plummeted, and then there had to be a guy that came in and said maybe we should do things a little bit differently, and then was able to rebound. But there was still an initial collapse. It was hard as fuck just by one little glimmer of a technology. Same thing with like plastic and all these things, and then people taking like an industry thing and then bring it to a new industry that's completely different, but they just utilize the same tech, like plastic oil bottles instead of metal oil bottles. They just fucking dominate the economy pool now, even though there's like billions of dollars of infrastructure in like making metal cans for oil. Over like a couple weeks, like, or years, a person's seen that like people are making shampoo bottles. Why wouldn't you put that in oil and make an oil thing there so it doesn't break easy, doesn't dent your floor, you can have a lid on it. Anyways, it was one of those cool things of technology that disrupts itself. Anyways, one of the aspects in that book was this idea of kill your idea. The only idea is a zombie idea. And how you create a zombie idea is you kill it over and over and over again. You kind of create a Frankenstein idea. And how you do that is you basically find all the ways it can fail. The way the person explained it is, think of yourself as you have many roads ahead of you. Analyze every single road to find out which has roadkill on it. These are all roads to your success, to your path. And then do something that nobody else does, which is basically try to find a way to analyze something so that you can find the ways in which your idea can fail, in which your process can fail, to kind of like the roadkill on your road, the journey. Is there any way to avoid those roadkill, and is there any way to kind of circumnavigate that nightmare, you know? So then you'd go through that process. And I did this a while ago for YouTube. For me, I basically kind of tried to think of where I would like to be and how I would like to happen and how I would like to do things. And then I kind of had the realization I didn't know what to do with for a long time, to tell you the truth. But basically I had the realization of, well, with what I'm currently doing, I'm doing which I now know is called the spaghetti approach to YouTube, which is basically trying a bunch of shit and seeing what sticks. And the problem with that is if you have no idea how to analyze, adjust, understand an ecosystem or an environment, you'll always have this specific example that I thought and I was terrified of. And that example is what happens when you're sleeping at night and you think, did I get lucky? Did I just get lucky with that? You know how much anxiety is in that? The idea that, oh, I just got lucky and I just need to like roll the dice a million more times to get lucky again. What if I keep pulling up the wrong hand? What if I keep failing? What if you don't have any income at that point? You lost what you've been building for such a long time? No, we cannot aim at just getting lucky. We need to find any way to increase the percentage of chance that we can to succeed, and the understanding of human beings, because that's our variable with YouTube and content, and understand that to such an extent in which we can go beyond a percentage chance that is basically a fucking good failure rate. So that was the thing that basically motivated me a lot. I didn't know what to do with that. I just kind of knew that like that was not a good answer, is to sit in my bed at night being like, well, even if I did manage to get like successful, if I never knew how I did it, if I never knew how I was able to maintain it, if I never knew how to do it again, that's why I also am happy that I made 3 channels, or 2 channels, I should say, because each channel will give me an example and hopefully a backbone and a spine to say, I built something from fucking nothing to all the way to proficient. Will I be able to do it? It's going to take time. It's probably going to take a lot of analysts. It's going to probably take a lot of time to adapt and learn. But to me, if I can do that fucking 3 times, I feel like I'll be a little bit okay with being like, there's luck here. I definitely got lucky, but I found a way to flip the coin. I was that weird magician who literally felt the tiny little finger muscles in his thumb and just kept flipping, just to feel what that feels like to constantly get heads or tails whenever I want. You know what I mean? So that was the weird journey that I kind of went on, and that was the thing that one of the instances that kind of motivated me a great deal to kind of like suffer, I guess, in this specific thing. Because I told you guys this, I haven't watched anime in like 3 weeks. I haven't like sat down and just had like a good time for like a month. And I'm actually extremely happy, because I feel like I'm making ground for the first time in 8 years. So yeah, even though it doesn't look that way, I know that I already kind of described you guys the problem that we're facing right now on the Brothers GRINN channel. Which is like a problem with user data, probably. Also just trying to basically create good content and learning from others good content and finding what I can extrapolate to sharpen my own and then make something more unique. Or not more unique, but just different. That's also desirable. But yeah. Back on Saints Row. Oh, actually, I didn't finish reading your whole comment, Sparks. You thought about it doing when you were younger. I like breaking down a huge goal into a bunch of small tasks and solving it with those smaller tasks. Yeah, man, that's one of the best things to do, is you take a problem and then you break it down into the thing. That's the one thing I've yet to do, which I probably want to do tonight if I have any time left. But I need to make a better idea about that's one thing I haven't done with my course, which is at the ending chapter. I still have 2 chapters to go, but I think I should probably do it sooner rather than later. But it's basically know your finish line. And I think the importance of that is when you actually, like, to me, one of the other, just to kind of unveil everything, one of the things that also like would keep me up at night as like a future piece of roadkill on my journey was, oh, I just lost it. Oh my God, I just lost it. Oh no. Maybe my brain was like, don't tell them this. It's not that bad, actually. At least I don't remember it being. What was it? If I read your comment, I'll break it down. Some of the problems. God damn it! It keeps happening to me. I have too much information in my head that I'm taking. I can't stay on track. Yeah, thanks for stopping by, Sparks. Enjoy the rest of your night. Have a fun. Have a good sleep, hopefully. I'm trying to finish off that train of thought. Engineer and problem solving. I break down a huge goal into smaller tasks, solving each problem within it. Also, the book. Spark says also the book I may be very helpful is 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Oh, okay, interesting. I might have to write that down real quick. Well, I'll try. Too much going on right now. I gotta figure out the one thing I was trying to say. It was one of the pieces of roadkill that was in. Oh, that was one of the making your finish line. That's what it was. If I can forget, tell me that, please. It was making your finish line, and one of the things that would keep me up also that I could see in the future that was a point of roadkill was what happens. Finish line. I just lost it again. It's just that whatever that sequence of words just fucking makes my brain numb. Finish line was, oh, what would happen if I was starting to make content of a game because it was new and maybe even I had a slight proclivity of interest in, but that game took off immediately. And that type of content took off immediately. And now your channel is like your audience, everyone really wants that content for you, but maybe you don't like the game. Maybe you like, because this is the thing that the book also talks about. You need to find the crossroads between your passion and what your audience wants. So like the in between, what you like to do and what you find purpose doing, and also what others like to do. And there's gonna be days when that purpose isn't there, and there's gonna be days when maybe the audience isn't exactly there either, and they kind of have to be a give and take, and you kind of gotta find harmony between both of them. But the idea of like, this is the importance of finding your finish line, because maybe I'd be like, oh, if I was forced to play Wonderlands for like 3 months straight when there is no content, when they are making choices that I don't understand, that I don't think the community wants, when I keep seeing them miss potential, then yeah, when I see Genshin and I see all of the choices that they're making, and I for years I've basically seen them not like adjust for a player base that I want to do. Then I look at games like Tower Fantasy where I'm like, actually, yeah, I could play a lot of this game. I could play a lot of this game for a long time coming. The moves that they're doing and the adjustments that they're making, I actually really think are clever. I hope they stay clever. They could also do the same thing that Genshin does, which is like they get successful enough to where they kind of just try not to rock the boat and they don't innovate anymore. But yeah, just having like a finish line and understanding, okay, well, what would my best ideal day look like in the future? Just in terms of what I would do for my work. And then you're like, okay, is that an idea that I can actually do? Because sometimes you're like, this would make me happy, but it's just like, there's no one watching that content. There's no one there. It may be, but it would be like it wouldn't be as crazy, you know? So you kind of need to find the crossroads even there of like, what would you be happy doing and what has value to capture so that you could have a life that wouldn't be sufficient enough for you to achieve the things that you want, you know, maybe have a family, maybe pay for your kids' college, that kind of thing. But yeah. But I haven't done that yet, the finish line thing. I think I've kind of got it in my background of my brain. But yes. Lone Sinket says, how I shoot someone in the face with a shot and it doesn't kill them, or better yet, a coin flip. Sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. Also, hey, Lone Syndicate, have you gotten to the part where there just so happens to be a health bar or a shield bar above that enemy, and that just makes them a fucking god? Oh my god, I hate it. I much prefer, hey, that enemy is a giant man. He is literally looking like the Hulk. So guess what? His health bar moves a little slower when you shoot him because he's fucking made of meat and flesh. Okay? He's a juggernaut. You have to give him more bullets. Whereas instead it's like, this is a guy that looks the same as every other guy that you've fought, and yet he has a stupid fucking shield bar on his stupid health bar, and it just makes everything fucking impossibly bulletproof. And you're like, why? Why? Anyways. Okay. So think the game's right. Losing it says, then the clothing choices suck. Like, I spend 2 hours looking for a decent article of clothing, driving to different stores and finding some. Yeah, well, eventually I think you, again, as you like develop the story, I think you get criminal ventures, and then you can actually get some crazy like skins to your clothes. So that's when you actually can like take a blazer and make it look way better and etc. But that comes with criminal ventures. Then you making like, you invest in like a specific kind of like skin system, so you can have like cool layering system to your clothes. But yeah, Fluff says, well, if anyone needs a competent open world action game to cleanse their palate, Spider-Man on PC is a blast. Runs really well and even works good with keyboard and mouse for weirdos like me. Weird. Okay. Yeah, so there's plenty of games to play. Also, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wind down right now because I would like to end the stream just a little bit early so I can go say goodbye and hi to my family. Does anyone have anyone to raid? If we do not, we'll just wind down. Unless I have someone as well. I'll look in a minute. Fluff says, even has an active modding community. Okay, which has been fun messing around with various costumes, reskins and such. Okay. Spark says, wish I could, wish I could say. Lone Sea says, also, those weapon challenges, although I like the concept of it, like you use a weapon to complete a challenge. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. The ability. Yeah, wouldn't it be so much better, Lone Syndicate, if because there is so much intrinsic value in money by completing objectives or criminal ventures or everything like that, wouldn't it just be like a good idea to have like a various upgrade things? So you'd click on a weapon and you just put money down to increase its base damage up to a point of your level. You'd increase the point to just increase your accuracy, maybe reload, maybe like give yourself some sort of weird like skill ability as well with it, whatever. Wouldn't that be wild? What if they added a perk that when you equip the perk on the weapon itself, which maybe were really hard to grind and required like an end game kind of activity being done, it would give you like more accuracy or whatever, maybe more damage when you get 2 kills. Yeah, maybe then it wouldn't be so bad when you have shielded enemies. Calm down. Destroying holster vehicles, and I destroy 4 cars and it didn't do. Yeah, I have the same thing. I have the same, like, it's like a Tommy gun looking thing. Yeah, pain. The number one thing you should always do when trying to actively achieve a complex goal is have the end in mind. Yeah, it's true. I want to take a picture of that before I lose it. I have like 15 books that I need to read in my phone, so it might be a while, Sparks. But we'll get there. Okay, it is called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Sounds like it's that same self-improvement garbage that I love, that I just soak up like a heathen. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let's see. Yeah, it doesn't look like anyone has. Well, actually, I could quickly go check. Let me read the last message. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me started on the so-called tank enemies in the gaming life. It has never took me 23 shots to the face to kill. So yeah, it's true. That's true. I will say the tank enemies even feel. Also, the accuracy of weapons just feels off. And again, in the previous games, you could just fucking hard press accuracy buffs or upgrades, and then you just be good to go. You know, so. Unfortunate, still probably a good time in a way. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't think we have. I have. Oh no. Oh, we do have. Yeah. Well, I think we're just gonna call it. Yeah. I need to quickly get out of here. The time it would take to fully send it. It's a whole thing. Also, no video today. Sorry. I had to. This is the day I just took for recon research. I may even take that tomorrow. Sorry. Will be content again on those channels. Just gotta get it all down pat. Thank you kindly for your time. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Subscribe button over there. 2 videos further that way. I'm so on autopilot. This is not a video. Actually, it is. It is a video. When we upload these well, no, I gotta upload the previous streams, but that did make sense. Ladies and gentlemen, love you to bits. Also, Lone says there's a there's a Frigga video. Oh, right, I did upload that today. Yeah. Oh, so tomorrow is the day that there will be nothing. Sorry. Red. Thanks so much for stopping by. Wish I could talk to you more. Yeah, bye.